So Bitcoin's been pretty quiet lately, right? But you really shouldn't let that fool you. All this sideways movement, it's like a coiled spring. And today, we're going to break down exactly when and why that spring might just snap.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? Is all of this just random, meaningless market chop? Or is something bigger happening? Is the price coiling up for its next major move? Let's dive in and look at the evidence. Okay, so to really get a handle on what's going on right now, we actually have to rewind a little bit. We need to look at a major market shock that kind of set this whole thing in motion.
Yeah, a drop of 16%. That happened back on October 10th. And that one event, it is the key to understanding everything that's happening today. It basically triggered a historical pattern that, believe it or not, is playing out right now as we speak. And you can see how this works. Historically, after a big, sharp crash like that one, Bitcoin tends to just go sideways. It consolidates for about 2 to 4 weeks before making its next major move. And guess what? We are currently 14 days into this whole phase. That puts us right in the sweet spot, that window where things could really start to happen.
But hey, we don't have to rely just on history. The data we're seeing right now is giving us 2 really clear clues that something big is brewing under the surface. Okay, so clue number 1, volatility is basically vanishing. I mean, the daily price swings are getting smaller and smaller, and that is a classic textbook sign that a big move is on the horizon. And this isn't just a feeling, you can see it right in the numbers. On October 21st, the price barely moved, just 2% the whole day. The next day, only 3%. I mean, for an asset like Bitcoin, those are tiny moves. It tells you that traders are just sitting on the sidelines, holding their breath, waiting for what's next. This kind of low-activity situation creates what traders call a squeeze environment. It's the perfect definition of the calm before the storm. Because when the price finally breaks out of this super tight range, the move is almost always sharp, fast, and incredibly powerful. All right, that brings us to clue number 2. While all that volatility is disappearing, something else is happening. Liquidity is building up. It's pooling up just above and just below the current price. The best way to think about these liquidity pools is like magnets. Seriously, they're basically these zones packed with stop-loss orders and liquidation orders. And this isn't just a Bitcoin thing. It's happening for Ethereum and Solana too. The price gets drawn to these areas, almost like it's hunting them, to trigger all those orders. And when that happens, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It fuels a massive breakout in a new direction. So remember how we said we're in that 3 to 4 week window? Well, because of that, the direction of this next breakout is, well, it's everything. It's probably going to set the entire trend for the next few weeks. So yeah, we have to take this very seriously. So what do? How do we get ready? Well, there is one critical number, a single price level that's going to be our guide to what the market does next. And that number is $112,700. Write it down. Right now, that is the line in the sand for Bitcoin. It's what separates all this boring sideways action from a potential brand new uptrend. Okay, so why that specific number? It's not random. It represents something called the short-term holder realized price. Now, that's just a fancy term for an on-chain metric, basically data pulled straight from the Bitcoin blockchain. All it means is that it's the average price that all the recent buyers, the short-term holders, bought their Bitcoin at. And right now, a lot of those people are underwater. They're at a loss. That makes this level a huge wall of resistance. So this leads us to a really clear and, more importantly, a patient strategy. Look, instead of just gambling and trying to guess which way it's going to break, we can just watch that level. We wait for a clean, confirmed break above it. And then, and this is the most important part, we only act after the price comes back down and proves it can hold that level as new support. That's a way safer, much higher probability way to play this. Okay, but there's one more piece to this whole puzzle we need to talk about. We can't look at Bitcoin in a vacuum. So let's zoom out for just a second and see what's happening in the traditional markets, because it adds a really important layer of context here. And what you see is pretty startling. There's this huge divergence. While Bitcoin has just been stuck in the mud, going sideways, you've got the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq ripping to new all-time highs. When you see Bitcoin underperforming like that, that is a clear sign of weakness. No other way to put it. So what does that tell us? It tells us that right now, the big money, the capital, It's flowing into traditional stocks, not into riskier digital assets like Bitcoin. And that's a major headwind. It just makes it that much harder for Bitcoin to kick off a strong rally all by itself. All right, so we've looked at the historical pattern, we've gone through the data clues, we've identified the key price level, and we've looked at the broader market context. Let's tie this all together and figure out what the final verdict is, what this all means for you right now.
So let's recap the case real quick. Bitcoin is in a classic consolidation after that big 16% drop. All the signs, I'm talking low volatility, building liquidity, they're all screaming that a major move is brewing. The magic number, the key resistance, is that $11,270 level. But we also have to face the fact that it's looking pretty weak compared to stocks right now.
So when you put all of that evidence on the table, the data-driven outlook, for now at least, has to be cautious. I mean, we're stuck under major resistance and showing clear weakness against stocks. Right now, patience is absolutely the name of the game. But, and this is a big but, that cautious stance has a very clear off switch, a condition where things could change in a heartbeat. If Bitcoin can actually reclaim that 11,270 level, and this is crucial, prove that it's the new floor, prove its support, then it is absolutely game on. That would be the signal we're all waiting for, the sign that the next big move is here. So let's wrap this up. All the data points to being patient right now, but this quiet period, it's not going to last forever. A breakout is coming, and the key to everything is watching that $112,700 level. So the only question left to ask is, when it finally happens, will you be ready?